We only swam 7 times in the water most weeks. The reason I say most weeks is, like I said, every week was different. We get kicked out of our pool when they have a high school dual meet. We get kicked out of our pool when they have graduation ceremonies, when they have homecoming, when they have a board of directors meeting. So I had to juggle things almost every week. Almost all of them were short course yards. There's a couple times in the fall where we sneak, in the fall and in the spring, where we sneak in a Sunday morning long course, and we were able to sneak in some long course training over her spring break. We went to a separate facility. Dry land is something that was new to Katie this year. She had done very little of it in the past. By design, I give Yuri a huge amount of credit. He didn't push her into it. We started out with 2 dry land sessions a week for an hour each. By the end of the year, we went to 3 dry land sessions, obviously spaced nicely throughout the week. There probably wasn't a typical week. Every week was a little bit different. Maybe that helped keep it fresh. I'm not sure. Maybe you can read most of that. If we had a typical week during the school year, this is what it looked like. Okay, we got up Monday morning and did dry land. We have to go off-site to do our dry land. We don't have any facilities right there. So the kids drive to a fitness center. I meet them there. We have some dry land experts who meet us there, and they go for an hour before school. Monday afternoon, we would go with long colors, threshold. I'm sure most of you in the room know John and his long colors and how they work. And we go between 8,000 and 10,000 yards that night. Tuesday morning we were off. Tuesday afternoon we'd come back and do active rest or easy fast, whichever terminology you're comfortable with. Wednesday morning was the only morning we swam regularly throughout the course of the year. It was usually a skill morning, kicking, toys as I like to call it, which were usually power-oriented, shoots or cords, that type of thing. 90 minutes before school. Our kids have to be out of the water and moving towards school by 6:30, so we get them in a little before 5 so they can get out at 6:30. Wednesday afternoon we come in and do VO2 max lactate. If we were going to do IM work, I would do it on Wednesday or Friday or both with her. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday we're almost always all freestyle. Wednesday and Friday were a chance to do IM and do stroke. I think that's real important for them to do, to break it up. And I did that more by feel than anything else. I didn't say 2 weeks worth of IM or 2 weeks worth of weak stroke. And I looked at how the Tuesday practice ended up and thought whether she needed a break from it or not. Then we pretty much went back on the same cycle for the next 3 days. Go dry land Thursday morning, we go short colors on Thursday afternoon, repeat colors of 150 down, that type of thing. Saturday morning was sort of our catch-all, that so many of us use it for. Sometimes we do lactates. Other times we do some over-distance work. I don't mean like crazy over-distance like some of us used to do in the 70s and 80s, but we might do something where we were going a 3,000 or 5,000 straight swim. Now, it wouldn't just be, hop in and go 3,000 or 5,000 straight. It might be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 400, 300, 200, 100 IMs. Sprint your weak stroke on the way up and your strong stroke on the way down, something like that, where they're changing speeds. We'd usually catch that on Saturday morning. And as I said, Sundays, various times of the year, we would go and swim long course, or it was an off day. And that's the schedule we rolled with for most of the year. I would love to say that it changed over the summer, but we're not out of school like so many of us till the 3rd week of June, and by then we were heading to World Championship trials, so we really didn't have a different summer training program. Those of you after content, this is the best I'm going to do on it, okay? Threshold Monday, long colors 200 and up. I threw a sample set in there. It's not pure. I could have used one of John's and done better, but it's one that we did at some point during the year. 300s cruise, a 300 pink for Katie, that was 258. She's pretty good about hitting that. 3100s on 105 cruise. And cruise is a almost intentionally vague term I use with the kids. I use cruise, I use moderate, I use what other ones, when it's just sort of that, it's really sort of between pink and white if you're into the colors, but I don't want them to feel threatened or, really being held to the gun for a certain time. And then a 300 descent at the end. She started 258 and descend from there. You get rolling through 5 rounds of that at 6,000 yards, and by the end, it's that 5th one is pretty tough to hit on the descent when I force them to start. And the good thing is, as I said, I've got 4 or 5 other kids in the water who really have the same guidelines. They have to start at a certain pace and descend from there. Short threshold on Thursday would look something like this, okay? Where the real work was in the 150s, the 100s, the 25s. It would not be unusual for me to make the 25s fast kicking, either within the set or at the end. I thought that was real important for Katie to make sure she had the legs at the end of her races this summer, and certainly that worked out for her. About 45 minutes in length there. Easy fast or active rest, Tuesday, Friday. Same type of thing, okay, except there's the 50 easy in between after most of the repeats. Really try and get her and the whole group going a lot of swims at race pace and faster. And sometimes I would think to myself, I don't know how many different ways there are to do, 55 and 54 second hundreds. I mean, there's only so many different ways you can do it, but you've got to keep doing them, and she certainly did a lot of them. A sample lactate set, Wednesday, Saturday type of thing. Give her 6 minutes rest between rounds. And those are the, as I said, Wednesday, Friday were the days that I typically put some stroke work or IM work in for her. Not that I was going to try and make her a 200 backstroke or anything like that, but I just think it's important to train the other strokes. All right, here are some miscellaneous sets or swims we did during the course of the year. And I thought each of them were sort of milestones for her. And I could go back and look up the dates, but I think each of them sort of told a story. I had them go 5,000 for time one time. Only time during the year we had them do it. 50-10 is pretty good for a girl, I think. I don't know, I don't usually have girls that can go that fast. But even more important than that, I gave him the 5,000 for time, and we have another distance swimmer who's a little faster than Katie, and he pushed off in front of her. And he thought he was doing a 5,000 and just started sort of plodding along. Well, that went on for about 400 yards. Katie said, enough of this, passed him, went in front of him, and he sat there right on her feet for about another 3,000 yards. And I thought to myself, if I were Katie, I would stop and turn around and slug this guy. I mean, he sat right on her feet, and to make things worse, he's about 5'6" and about 130 pounds dripping wet, so she could have taken him. He just sat there right on her. If he wasn't touching her feet, he was right there, and I couldn't believe he was doing it, and so on and so forth. Well, at the 3,000 mark, some other people who were in the lane got out because they were only assigned a 3,000 swim, and he pulled up right next to her. So they swam 2 in the lane side by side from 3,000 to 4,000 to 4,200 to 4,300 to 4,400, at which point Katie put the hammer down and came home in like 5:48 or something like that. Dropped him like a bug. And I never cheered so much for somebody during a set as I did on that one. But and I asked her afterwards, I said, why did you decide to go then, or why did you not turn around and slug him? Maybe it was the same question. And she said, well, I thought he was going to sprint the last 500, so I sprinted the last 600. And that's just who she is. And so that was early in the fall, and that was an indicator there. Another time later in the year, we went 4 1500s. I have no idea where the idea came from on this one. And I told the kids, I said, 3 crews in 1 race. And all of them wanted to know, what does cruise mean? I said, well, I tell you cruise all the time. 3 crews, 1 race. And they looked at me, and they weren't very happy about it. I swam the first one, and they came in. I think one of them said that was kind of boring. Okay, I got over it. And then they came in after the second one, and they said, I sort of like this. I sort of like this. I can get ready to get up and go on the last one. So they did the third one, and then on the fourth one, Katie went out and dropped 14:39 on it, which is a pretty good swim. And the other thing it did for me is up until then, I'd been using 59 as her base pace for all of our training sets. And I figured if she could drop a 14:39 at the end of that, I could probably drop down to 58.5. So I started using 58.5 for all of her color work after that. So I thought that was real important. 12-200s at 3 minutes, pick 8 of the 12, up to you, whichever 8 you want. And I gave her a goal time of under 153. I'm sure I had a rationale at some point of where 153 came from. I don't remember what it was. I gave everybody in the group sort of different goal times. And those are the 8 that Katie went. And they took real pride in racing the ones. Nobody wanted to come in and do one that they had to do over again, because of course, you know, the threat was if they tried really hard on one and they went 153.5, that it wasn't going to count. So they really got on the good 200s, and they went really slowly on the easy ones, and that was fine. And I don't remember if she went 2 fast, 1 easy, 3 fast, 1 easy, or something like that. I stole this from Harvey Humphreys down at the University of Georgia. Just another way of doing some good work, I thought. You know, let them pick 8 out of 12. I wasn't going to tell them which. 6 rounds of 300 descend plus 100 easy on 5 minutes. The reason I've got that one up there, believe it or not, I think most of you believe it, at the beginning of the year, Katie didn't have a lot of feel for her descend work or control of her paces. We had done some descend work prior to that where she had gone 315, 312, 310, 312, 318, you know, was not a good descend. And I thought that was the first time she really showed nice control over the work she was doing. It's good work too. I mean, those times for 300 meters for long course for girls is pretty good. But I think it was the control that she showed on it more than the actual times that I thought were important. And then maybe a little bit more typical, we go 10 300s on 330, 4 of them between white and pink, which are the 302 to 259, 3 of them between 259 and 252, 2 of them between 252 and 250, and 1 of them under 250. And that's just typical of the work that we're doing, that she's doing. And we do it every week, and there's no magic to it in a lot of ways. We do that for 8 or 12 weeks in a row. We rest for 3 days and we go swim. We go back to the pool, we do a little bit of aerobic endurance for 3 or 5 days, we rest for 3 days and we go back and swim. And that seemed to work